What is up, my lovelies? Welcome back to Bloom with Becca. I'm your host, Becca. Obviously, I feel like every time I say that it sounds so dumb. But we're getting in a rhythm because this is now episode 16. I can't believe we have been around for 16 episodes. Time flies. Today, we are going to discuss how I went to hospital on Tuesday, hence why this podcast is a little late. Yeah, we're just gonna have a little catch up. I want the main theme of this podcast to be talking about loneliness. I was kind of hesitant to make that a theme because obviously I'm not going to be talking about it from the standpoint of a professional, someone who's offering professional help, and I really didn't want to pretending that's what I'm doing here. It's just something I've been struggling with. Just open up that conversation because I know I am not the only one that struggles with loneliness. I really hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Hi guys, I pre-recorded the last episode kind of in advance for me, whereas normally I'm the kind of girl I'm a bit last minute, so I will record my podcasts like the day before they go live, which is stressful in the workload, sure, but I kind of like that it's all very much up to date, and I feel like we're catching up in real time almost. As always, I want to say thank you for like the love and support that you guys show on this podcast and show on Instagram. I'm always moved when I get messages from you guys talking about how much you love the pod, or like if you message me regarding the theme I'm talking about in that episode and your experience with it. Just a little moment of appreciation because it's because of you guys that I get to do this. And I think sometimes I need to remember and not take that for granted, just how wonderful it is to have not only a community online and be able to make a job from it, but also you guys specifically. I don't know what I did to deserve you guys specifically. Like, for example, when I put up the just little update saying how this podcast episode was going to be a tiny bit late, I asked like no sympathy because I'm actually completely fine, and I'm just going to make a little funny, is it going to be funny? Little story time out of it, how I was in the hospital this week. But you guys were just so lovely messaging me like, take your time, it's completely fine, like we're here to stick around. And I just want to say I really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. This podcast isn't at like the forefront and center of what I do. My YouTube channel is my main job. This podcast is super important to me to keep up as this extension of what I do in order to be way more connected to all of you. Does anyone else feel this? January? I am not one to complain about a month feeling too long. January is still here. We are still in January. I feel like this has been the longest month ever. Like I said, though, I don't want to complain because it's been great. And I swear the months just speed up as you get towards the end of the year. So here, I'll take it. And I've been really enjoying my January. I feel like I've been in a good place. Apart from this week's been rocky. And to be fair, I am in my luteal phase of my cycle, which makes such a difference with me. I feel so lazy. Like this week, everything's a struggle. The gym's a struggle. I don't know. I just needed to come on here and talk to you guys, my lovely, lovely Bloom with Becca friends. I'm going away on holiday actually at the end of this week. Will's going to be 30. The big 3-0 on Saturday. It's like a few days from now, which by the way, the pressure of planning that day has been getting to me a little bit. I want to make the day really memorable, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know what to do. But anyway, the day after, we're going to go on a little road trip to Ireland for the week. So that'll be so nice. See his family. They're in Derry. I think we're also going to go to Dublin for a night, which will be really cool. I've never done Dublin. I'm not one to choose Guinness as my drink, but when in Dublin, I feel like you have to, right? So anyway, that'll be really lovely. And next week is going to be essentially like a week off, which will be really nice. This week I just feel a little burnt outy. That sounds really terribly phrased. Last week was the week that I filmed my 2024 morning routine. If you are new, if you don't follow me on YouTube, you're probably like, what? But if you follow me on YouTube, you know YouTube's honestly put me in a bit of a box as that morning routine girl. And that's fine. I'm just glad to have a thing, I guess, on YouTube. But yeah, do like a big morning routine at the start of every year. And that is normally the video that gains a lot of new followers for me. And I love it. And I love to almost push myself each year to, I don't know, I feel like if you watch my videos, then you know, I like to make my videos, certain videos, a little bit more cinematic to watch. Now, listen, I'm saying that word, that's absolutely does not describe me. I barely know how to use my camera when it's on manual, but I do try each year to make them better, make the quality better. I like upgrading equipment. Like, I love that side of it. Put pressure on myself each year to upgrade the quality of my content, right? I was just getting quite stressed about this year. I never want my content to be too repetitive. Sometimes I don't know what to add with these videos. So for those of you lovely lot who, cheer me on each time, I really appreciate it. Like, the night before I was going to film it, I literally felt nervous, almost like I had an audition or an interview the next morning, just because I wanted to make it really good for you guys. And I think it came out okay. But anyway, my point is, that just took a lot out of me creatively last week. And so this week has been not the most productive, I'll be very honest, which is not great because I need to be productive this week. Taxes are due at the end of this month. And if you're self-employed, wow, I hope if you're self-employed, you're more organized than I am and you haven't left it until the deadline. You know what was fun actually this past week was, since I was filming this routine, I don't know why I get an urge, and I think it ties in with it being a new year as well, to just spice up my home a little bit. So I'll maybe treat myself to I don't know, a couple new pieces of decor or a new lamp. And I finally added a little bit of color to our home. We live in this new build development, this new build flat, and everything's so bright and white, copy and paste. As I get older and my taste changes, I actually don't like that. So yeah, just adding some art has been really nice. I'm starting to realize when I'm just doing my job normally week to week, I am at home so much. And that's why I'm going to talk about loneliness when it's a particularly content heavy week. Most of that's filmed at home, and then I got to edit it all, and that's editing kind of has to be at home because voiceovers and whatever. It's just easier and more productive if I stay at home. So I liking my environment around me. I think it's important. I ended up in A&E a couple nights ago because I had a chocolate peanut. If you don't know, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this pod. I don't know why I'd ever mention it on this pod, but I'm allergic to pistachios and cashews. If any nut allergy warriors are listening to this, I feel you. And girl, we gotta be careful because I'm an idiot and let my EpiPen expire. Yeah, so that's why I was in hospital on Monday night, because I had a really bad reaction. I know you might be thinking girl, if you're allergic to nuts, why did you eat peanut? But peanuts are completely fine. It's literally just pistachios and cashews. I'm completely fine with other nuts. And Will was eating this bag of chocolate covered peanuts, and I know it's my bad. I don't blame anyone but myself. I just did not think to check. I was like, it's chocolate and a peanut. Ate this chocolate covered peanut, and within I kid you not, a minute, I could feel it in the back of my throat. And that's why it's considered a bit more serious. I've never, thank God, had anaphylactic shock from having a reaction, but I do feel it in my throat and I do get tight. My lips swell. Even though I've never had it to the point where it's life-threatening, it is still very concerning that that's happening. And you just don't know, I guess, with allergies. They change over the years. And yeah, it's really horrible. It's really scary. I went through years of not having a reaction. I'm talking from 16 to 22, no reactions. And then it wasn't until I moved to London, I swear in the past year, I've had 4 or 5. The past few times I've had the reaction, it's been from traces, and so never has felt that bad. I know that feeling instantly. I know I'm having a reaction. However, This time on Monday night, just felt so tight in my throat. It felt really scratchy. And I felt like shortness of breath. It was scary. And also my lip really started to swell, which it hasn't done like for the past reactions I've had. So yeah, I knew it was a bad reaction. And then I had Will there like, should I call an ambulance? I've only ever called 999 once when I was 14. So it's literally been like 10 years since I last had to do that. Gave it like 5 minutes and it just did not feel good. And with that, you're better safe than sorry. Yes, I'm an idiot. I should have had my EpiPen at hand. I have no excuse. But anyway, ended up in A&E. And yeah, it's kind of thrown off the rest of the week. I feel completely fine now. It goes without saying, all the credit in the world to NHS staff. They're actual superheroes and deal with so much. Like I saw this tiny snippet of a Monday night and yeah, it's a really like tough environment. What else? I've been rambling for so long, but I don't know. I wanted a little catch up kind of episode. I have been watching a lot of good movies recently. I saw Poor Things in the cinema. That's incredible with Emma Stone. Like so good, very weird. Lots of sex scenes. Not that should be like what I'm taking away from that film. The film was incredible. Like, I don't know, the color grading. It's nice to see a film with so much color. Saying that, ironically, like it starts black and white and then, I don't know if you've seen it, you know what I mean. But just really quirky and like felt different. And she was incredible in it. I think she's nominated for an Oscar. The nominations came out this week, so that's exciting. You know what was interesting though about Poor Things was, and I kind of keep seeing this in the cinema, like I saw it when we went to go see Killers of a Flower Moon, people walking out. It's a little sad. Like, I don't know, fair enough if you've shown up and it just isn't your thing, you don't like it, but I do feel like it's worse now after the pandemic and people's attention spans in this digital age of TikTok and short form content. But yeah, both those films saw people leave. Also saw people leave during Saltburn, but I don't know. I don't know if they just found it very weird. I just don't know if it's like they didn't know what they were signing up for. Okay, like I said, I didn't know if I wanted to even make this worth talking about in a podcast episode, loneliness, because I don't know how I want to talk about it from a standpoint of advice. I don't know how helpful this episode's even going to be if you are suffering from loneliness, but it's something I'm very much in, and it's not the first time. It's kind of been this reoccurring feeling since I've been self-employed, and that's been like a massive change in my life. If you work for yourself, you work by yourself, you work from home, loneliness may be going to be a repercussion of that. I feel like loneliness can very often be overlooked, but for a lot of us it's a common part of adulthood, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Looking at me, you absolutely might think you have no reason to be lonely, like you are not the loneliest person in the world. I know this. I literally have a fiance who I see basically every day. I wake up to someone every day. I go to bed with someone every day. I have a dog who is like low-key my best friend. Who's here every day, all day with me. But you could have someone who lives completely alone, works completely alone, and doesn't suffer from loneliness. I just think we deal with it differently. And it's the same logic we apply to, well, you can't complain about your feelings because there's someone across the world who has it way worse than you, therefore your feelings are not valid. We know, I hope we know, that isn't how it works. Someone could be completely surrounded by people all the time and still feel loneliness. I really don't see it as this measurable thing, and I think that's maybe what makes it a little bit complicated. I think it's maybe also changed a bit since COVID. Is there a bit more of an epidemic around it? I don't know. If it's something you already struggle with, then I absolutely can imagine that COVID, the pandemic, that whole situation made it a lot worse maybe. Just completely like threw us a situation that we've never had to handle before. A lockdown, being told you're not allowed to leave your house, being told you're not allowed to see your loved ones. To be fair, something we saw from COVID, which was, well, it felt new, was people finding a new way to connect. That was through video chat, and we absolutely can talk about the perks of the digital world, how we live in that now. Zoom calls, Zoom quiz nights. I don't know if any of you did those. Honestly, the novelty of those wore off pretty quick, but they were fun and new at the time. I want to say this now, if you are seriously struggling, please don't be afraid to talk to someone about it, or even consult a therapist. It's often overlooked. It's often not viewed as a serious thing, but with loneliness, you don't want to wait for it to get worse. Yeah, with my situation, I've just been really realizing, I think with the new year, you tend to evaluate where you're at and really think about your day-to-day and like where you're with in terms of career. I don't know, just like what my daily routine's like. And I'm really realizing, like I said last week, if I just go about my job as per normal, like without sprinkling in something different, like, I don't know, an event or going out to meet a friend. January is a bit of a weird time as well, because I think people are just finding their feet. People are saving their money and just not wanting to go out as much. I've really found myself like not really wanting to go out as much. But yeah, I can easily go about my day, my week, without seeing anyone apart from Will. I'm lucky to be in such a strong relationship where he is my best friend. And so a lot of the time, I don't even feel that craving for social interaction with a friend. I think that's quite an interesting thing to dissect, because I'm not necessarily saying that is a healthy setup in our relationship. And I'm not pretending that there isn't dependency there, if you know what I mean. We did go through COVID together. I feel like that was a big test on our relationship, and we very much realized that we can do life together. For context, I grew up in a very loving family. I'm very grateful. I was never alone growing up. I always had my parents, my sister around me. And then when I went to school, I always have friends around me. I feel like I went to a really nice school. Oh my God, I look back now as an adult and I'm very grateful for that. I had really good friends. I always have friends. I had friends who understood me, who made me feel valued, who made me feel heard, seen, like all of these sort of things that if you take that away, that's when you start to feel loneliness. And also I'm very lucky. I realized like I didn't have to pretend to be someone else to fit in. I feel like that can also be a cause of loneliness. You're acting a different way to maybe fit in with a certain group, but you might not actually feel understood. And so, yeah, it's that kind of paradox of like, you have loads of people around you, but you're lonely as hell. And then when I graduated and I moved out from my parents, I literally moved in straight away with Will. And I lived in Edinburgh, like my hometown. So I always have friends to meet. It was like more of a thing to, oh, let's keep up with everyone. And then when COVID hit and we all of a sudden had to stay at home, I actually was in a very rare situation where I still had to work and literally go into work. I'm not talking about working from home. Like I was a manager at Sainsbury's. Yeah, that was like an interesting time. And I actually owe a lot to that job. I feel like it really, I gained perspective. I feel like I developed my character a bit more, if that is that's a weird way of wording it, matured me a bit. But that responsibility of managing people and then adding the element of COVID and dealing with the public coming in and being freaked out about being in store and being around other people, because these were people who were staying at home all day, every day, and would only go out to get their groceries. And I saw a lot. I had a lot of different conflict situations. It was actually really valuable, that experience. Was it my dream job? No. I was very glad to leave when I left. But it was, yeah, just like a very new challenge. But my point is, I had to go in and operate as normal. And so even then, in the midst of COVID, I didn't feel lonely. And then London happened. COVID cleared up. We moved to the big smoke because I got a job as a social media manager for a company and I worked in an office. And now I realize how important that was for my mental health. Whilst, yes, a struggle, all the struggles that come with working a 9-5 in central London. Man, do I look back now and I cherish that experience and the time I got with people. And not only that, the time I got with people that weren't just like me. It is so valuable to be exposed and have to spend time with people of different age groups, of different backgrounds, of different expertise. Like, I worked at a startup, which I'm really grateful for, because it meant that I directly talk with like the finance team and work out problems with sales. Like, it was a really good experience. But what I do now is isolating. No, I do not have the right to complain, because I was actually listening to Nina Florence's episode this morning. She did an episode talking about the influencer industry, and yeah, I agreed with like everything she said. I really recommend that episode. Yeah, there's a lot of perks to this job. Anyway, I'm talking about the way I operate, being like a YouTuber who mainly concentrates on putting out this video a week. My days, a lot of the time, consist of me just editing at home at my desk, because that is when I'm going to be the most productive. I know you could say just go to a coffee shop, but honestly, a lot of the time, like with the clips I'm editing and doing voiceovers and stuff, it's not stuff I can do in a coffee shop. Like, literally, I opened up my laptop the other day to do the rough cut of this video. Instantly, my butt is out, like in one of these clips, because I'm getting changed. I was like, oh, okay, let's not do this here. Yeah, I think maybe I just need to structure my week a little bit better, like dedicate a day or two to editing. I don't know what the answer is. But yeah, some weeks I hit a bit of a low place and I don't notice until it's almost too late. Okay, my apologies if you are watching this. Then you'll be able to tell that some time has passed. I had to pop out, run a little errand, but now I'm back. So we will continue. And thankfully, we're getting into the sort of more chirpier, optimistic part of this episode. I feel like I just went on quite a long ramble and tangent about why I've been feeling a bit lonely. I think it's best to talk about the strategies, kind of coping tips I have for when I'm feeling a bit lonelier, just sort of how to enjoy your own company a bit more confident as an independent individual. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the value in making more effort to meet people around you, to meet up with friends, to put in that effort. However, I want to stress, I get it when you're an adult and you're making new friends. It is a different thing almost now, as opposed to when we're younger and we're in school. I feel like you hit it off with your people, and your friends, your friend group, like that relationship is more intense, and because you're spending all day, every day together. But with adult relationships, like, you know, you meet these new people and you don't know each other that well yet, especially when moving to a new city. But I swear there's apps, aren't there, for trying to meet new people, kind of like dating apps, but for friends, which I just think is genius. I think we're gonna see more of that, honestly. I definitely get fed ads for that all the time on like TikTok and stuff. Funnily enough, though, I can't think of one actual name, but I'm sure you guys have heard of it. I know you can absolutely join like online communities and go meet a group of people who are like-minded. For example, I've seen there's like quite a few running groups in London. And also, if you don't live in a big city like London, please don't be disheartened by this conversation, because I feel like this is becoming a more common thing. Yeah, think about what are your hobbies, what are your interests, and then I guarantee you there's like some sort of community group surrounding it. And you know for sure that you're going to have that thing in common with those people. So that's, I think, a great like starting ground. Or it could be like a group sport. Enroll in classes or workshops that interest you, that do also have that element of social interaction. And then it's a great way to meet new people. Something I want to say that I actually think helps a lot, and this is really obvious because doing this is going to help with everything, with your health. But staying active, I do believe, helps a lot. I'm a firm believer that in order to have just like your all-around healthy lifestyle, and I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking mentally, then you've got to be moving your body. Workout classes can actually be a really great way to connect you with other people. I'll be honest, whenever I've been to like reformer Pilates classes, you normally just show up and keep yourself to yourself, or at least the ones I've been to, like literally nobody talks to anyone. Okay, yeah, that doesn't sound great, but I know I still get something from being around other people who are there to feel their best, who are there to push their body, who are like-minded. Okay, maybe if you don't live somewhere like London, I feel like if you are in a different city or town, maybe people are a bit nicer. Listen, in London, people keep themselves to themselves, and that's fine. This point, use the digital world. I'm going to kind of contradict myself in a second, but what I mean by the digital world, I mean use it cautiously. And this is like something I have to tell myself. Close friends that I like grew up with don't live in London, so I have to FaceTime them. I have to call them. And what an amazing thing that we live in this age where we have FaceTime, where 2 clicks on your phone and you can literally be face to face in real time with that person. I know it's not the same as in-person interaction. Of course it's not. It doesn't compare, but it's like the next best thing we have for those more long distance relationships. And I'm someone who I've really been like, well, I live far away from my friends, so I cut myself off a bit, and it doesn't have to be like that. Okay, and here we go to the point I said about contradicting myself. I find spending more time on social media can definitely make me feel a bit lonelier. Yes, of course, the aspect of community is amazing, and especially what I have, but I'm talking about that social comparison when you go onto your feed and it looks like people are hanging out with each other all the time, or people are at events all the time and they're super busy all the time and doing all this, and you're just at home with no plans all week. I get that. It makes me feel worse. And I feel like generally our generation almost spends more time engaged with the digital world than we do socially. We're not given as much a reason to go out and socialize. Cost of living crisis has just gone absolutely absurd, and so you're kind of encouraged to stay in and save money. I'm just realizing that that time I spend on social media, it cannot replace the importance of actual social interaction. Next one, be a little bit more vulnerable with those you trust, those that you are comfortable being more vulnerable with, by expressing our feelings and just being a little deeper, opening up those deeper chats. Having that connection with someone is a really special feeling. There is research behind it that you do bond over shared, I don't want to use the word trauma, but shared hardship with someone. I want to talk about how I have so learned that you can be in the biggest city in the world with the highest population, millions of people around you, and you can still feel so lonely. With like loneliness advice videos, you might hear, just go out, just go to a coffee shop, just be around the buzz. And I have taken on that advice before, and it makes me feel worse. It makes me feel like, okay, I don't have anyone to go do this with. And I just want to say, if you're someone who's felt that as well, you're not alone. The paradox of being surrounded by a large population and yet feeling incredibly isolated is absolutely attributed to various factors. I find the sheer volume of people often leads to less likely a chance of connecting meaningfully with someone. There's such a feeling in London, this like busy, frantic competitiveness. Everyone's in a rush. Everyone's just thinking about themselves. Everyone's very career driven. Sometimes when you go outside, it's just this like sensory overload, and it can make you feel more alone. So I think like my point here in terms of advice is just be aware of that sometimes the answer isn't just go throw yourself in the middle of a really busy cafe. It might not be the answer. And I think for me, sometimes it's like I get too in my head and I assume people like care about me, or they're thinking like, oh, why is she alone, or what's she doing? And you know, there's comfort in the thought of like, no one's thinking that. Like everyone's just thinking about themselves. Let's be for real. One that helps me is feeling more engaged to my community and I don't know, like local events, what's going on. I'm not talking about workshops or like meeting up with people in group activities. I'm talking about, like events. So if there's local gigs, maybe in your area, or you know what I really love? Like I always come away from it in such a good mood. Even if it was kind of bad, a comedy show. And I think there's something about being in a room, the shared laughter is it's like contagious. I love a comedy show. I truly believe understanding yourself better helps with loneliness, and understanding as well what actually makes you feel fulfilled. And remember to stay true to yourself, especially when meeting new friends. Understand what kind of people fill your cup instead of take from your cup. Maybe make a little ritual with a friend, like if there's someone you want to get to know better, but you find yourselves like only meeting once a month or life gets in the way, you could totally start a little tradition. Every Tuesday night or every second Tuesday night we do games night or wine night, I don't know. That's just an idea. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was just an episode that really came from the heart. Just me talking about it, being vulnerable has helped me understand my feelings a bit better. But yeah, I'm gonna end this episode here. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys next week. Again, sorry about this episode being a little bit late, but thank you for being patient with me. Okay, I'm gonna go enjoy my evening. I hope whatever time of the day it is that you're listening to this, that you have an amazing day. Bye. Thank you, my loves, for listening to this week's episode of Bloom with Becca. Be sure to follow the Bloom with Becca Instagram page to get involved each week with your questions, your stories, your thoughts on different topics, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next week for a new episode. Love you. Bye.